I mean, I joined the Royal Air Force when I was 16 years old, and I'm pretty sure, like most people over the years, I never had the chance to stop and think. And when the pandemic hit, it was like someone hitting pause on the world. This was an opportunity to stop and think and decide where we were going to go going forwards. But unfortunately, most people were just thinking about when they were going to get back to normal. And I don't know about you, but for me, normal was broken. Normal was me struggling to pay my rent every month. Normal was me not being able to find enough of a work-life balance that I could fuel my soul at the same time as I was working. So when the pandemic hit, within 24 hours of that first lockdown, all of my work just stopped. All of my work speaking at conferences all over Europe just went. I had my first ever stand-up tour of the country booked. Yep, that went. And it's like, well, what am I going to do now? Everyone's going, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal. I just, and people were just waiting for something to happen. And it's like, I can't afford to just sit and wait for something to happen. So because I'm a mental health campaigner and speaker and writer, I decided, you know what, I need to go and see if I can help out. And I became a mental health support worker. Gave me an opportunity to still be busy. It gave me an opportunity to help people. It gave me an opportunity to grow my knowledge about something that I speak and write about. One of the things that the pandemic did was it just utterly destroyed all of the belief we had in things that were constant, things that were solid, that would be there forever. All of a sudden, all of the constants were replaced with uncertainty. We didn't know when we'd be able to see people again. We couldn't just go out and see our friends. We couldn't visit our relatives. There was so much uncertainty in the world, and that was just fueled by so much mixed messaging from the government and from other organisations. It seemed like the rules changed every single week, day, hour. Nights out became nights in, quite often alone. I mean, I'm a single person. I live on my own. All of a sudden, all of my time when I wasn't at work, I was on my own. In fact, during the pandemic, I won the British LGBT award for outstanding contribution to LGBT life. And the previous year, I'd been at the award ceremony, drinking and partying, and I got to meet I can't remember his name. Lily Savage, him. Amazing people and amazing speeches. But when I won it, I was sat in my home, all on my own, in the dark and the cold. And I just felt I couldn't even share it with anyone because the awards were pre-recorded and weren't even going out for a couple of days. So it was just heartbreaking to receive this amazing award, and yet it just didn't feel like it had even happened, because for me it almost felt like, without the emotional connection, did it really happen? In lockdown, we literally put into isolation. And when you think about the fact that in the prison system, isolation is actually used as a punishment. So for us to suddenly be isolated, away from family, friends, was very hard for so many. We lost our social networks. And because of that, we had to start building new support networks that would enable us to discover new technologies like this, where we could talk to people all over the world. Working from home, all of a sudden there was a need for self-reliance, a need for self-discipline, and a need for self-care, because as freelancers, we all know that it's very difficult to blur those lines between work time and personal time, and some people work too much, some people didn't put in anywhere near enough work during the working from home stage. But it was something that we all had to learn how to deal with. When I first got to go back to schools, I remember the first talk that I did in front of a live audience for a couple of years, and I was stood at the school and I'm on a stage, socially distanced from the audience, and I said to them, "What did you miss most during the lockdown?" And it was a public school, they were quite posh. One of the boys put his hand up and said, "Restaurants." And I said, "Yeah, great answer, yeah." And then this young lady put her hand up and said, "Friends." And I turned around to the guy and said, "There are no right or wrong answers," but she got the right one. And that's the thing. So many people realize that actually the thing they miss most wasn't going out. It wasn't going to restaurants. It wasn't the ability to go shopping. It was that they missed their friends and family. During that time, materialism seemed to mean less to us. Human contact became the most valuable commodity that any of us could have. A life without people showed us the importance of community. And it was really important that we all pulled together and looked out for each other, because so many of us were in danger of slipping through the cracks. For me, I used it as a total reset on my life. I gave notice on my dream flat that I lived in that overlooked the sea, because where my business went, I was struggling to pay the rent. It was Mick with the lifestyle that I had. So I moved out of my beautiful dream flat and moved into a converted horse box and traveled around the South Downs. That allowed me to reconnect to nature, something that I didn't even realize that I didn't have. I grew up in the village. I grew up in nature, and just the ability to reconnect with nature just allowed me to breathe again in a way that I couldn't when I was stuck in the middle of a town. I used that time to get clean. Again, it was something where I needed that separation between myself and my previous life. By going out into nature, by getting clean, by using this as an opportunity to step away from the life before, I could breathe, I could think, and I could work on my mental health. Now, I'm someone who first struggled to, first tried to take their own life when they were 12 years old. Over the years, I've struggled with my gender identity, I've struggled with depression, self-harm, suicide, post-traumatic stress. And I can honestly say that last year, even with the lockdowns and everything else, was the first year since I was 12 years old when I didn't think about suicide once, because I'd managed to find something that fueled my soul rather than just fueling my bank balance, fueling my head. And it allowed me to move forwards with my life. At Whitehawk Football Club, we've got a great sense of community, and we all feel that we're part of a family. We all feel that we're there contributing to something that is bigger than ourselves. And I think that is a vital thing that all of us need. It's not about us, it's about what we can do for the greater good. And when you're doing stuff for the greater good, it actually feeds back to you and it fulfills your soul. I think it's important that looking forwards, we don't think about building a new normal. I think it's much more important that we think about building a new extraordinary. And that's my message.